Korea remembers former President Kim Youngsam, who passed away over the weekend. A state funeral will be held on Thursday. South Korea marks the 5th anniversary of North Korea's bombardment of Yeonpyeong-do Island. The attack killed 2 soldiers and 2 civilians. Plus, Belgian police carry out raids across Brussels related to the Paris terror attacks. Brussels remains on its highest state of alert. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Monday, the 23rd of November. You're tuned in to our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Broome. And we start with the passing of one of the most respected pro-democracy figures in Korea, former President Kim Youngsam. Kim, who led the country from 1993 to 1998, died in hospital in the early hours of Sunday morning at the age of 87. We're going to connect with our Shin Se-min at the Seoul National University Hospital, which is where Kim passed away. Se-min, we hear people from all walks of life have been coming to pay their respects.
Yes, Mark. Entering the second day of the 5-day mourning period, over 1,200 people have been coming in to pay their tribute to the late President Kim Youngsam. Now, in fact, we're just hearing that just an hour ago, casketing took place here at the Seoul National University Hospital's funeral hall. And as for the visitors, now former and current representatives of from Korea's religious and political scene have been coming in to pay their respects. Kim Jong-pil, who served as prime minister during part of Kim Young-sam's presidency, paid a visit on Sunday. Former President Lee Myung-bak and the current leader of the main opposition party, Minji, also came yesterday. And Kim Moo-sung, head of Korea's ruling Saenuri Party, came on Sunday and again this morning to pay his respect and express condolences. And it is speculated that President Park Geun-hye might come today as she is back in Seoul following a busy week and a half of overseas diplomacy, but no definitive word on when she will visit.
And Se-min, we hear the funeral will be held on Thursday and that it will be a state funeral. Do we have any further details on that yet?
Well, yes, the former president will be given a state funeral, and that was decided by the government late Sunday evening. And in fact, he'll be the first former president to be given a state funeral, as the State Funeral Act was revised late last year in November. And according to the revised law, now the state funeral is given to a former or incumbent president or anyone respected for having provided a distinguished service to society. Now, unlike other funerals, where the mourning period is just 3 days, the period for a state funeral is 5 days. A national state funeral committee will be also set up for the funeral, headed by the Prime Minister Hwang Kyo-won. And it'll organize everything from the funeral parlor to supervising the burial ceremonies. And after the 5-day mourning period, the state funeral for Kim will be held at 2 p.m. on Thursday. The funeral procession will depart in front of the National Assembly on Thursday, and Kim will be laid to rest at the Seoul National Cemetery in Dongjaku District.
And Se-min, what about public incense altars for those wanting to pay their own respects? Have these been set up yet?
Right, they're still in the process of being set up, but the one in front of National Assembly is up and running since this morning. Now, there will be a number of public memorial altars nationwide, so the public could pay their respect to the late president as well. And another large altar is being set up at Seoul Plaza. And in overseas as well, altars have been set up in Korean embassies around the world. And the Interior Ministry says memorial altars will also be set up in Kim Young-sam's hometown in Jeju-do Island off the southeastern tip of the peninsula. That's all I have for now. This has been Shin Se-min reporting live from Seoul National University Hospital.
Now, former President Kim Youngsam will be remembered as a champion of democracy who ushered in a shift away from decades of military rule in South Korea. For an overview of his life, our Minji reports.
Kim Youngsam became the youngest member of the National Assembly in 1954 as a member of the ruling party of South Korea's first president, Lee Seung-man. In 1979, Kim was expelled from the National Assembly for anti-government activities and criticizing President Park Chung-hee, the father of current President Park Geun-hye. In the early 1980s, he was placed under house arrest on 2 separate occasions for a total of 2 years, which prompted him to stage a hunger strike. He served in the National Assembly again before winning the presidential election in 1992. The former president is being credited for his role in Korea's pro-democracy movement, where he laid the groundwork for a peaceful transfer of power after decades of military rule. He had his 2 predecessors, Chun Do-hwan and No Tae-woo, arrested on mutiny and treason charges for launching a crackdown against anti-government protesters.
While he was president, he was a great hero who carried out reforms no other could imitate.
He was a great figure who contributed to the history of democracy in Korea. We must honor and carry on the spirit of his philosophy of democracy.
The former president was also praised for making the nation's financial system more transparent. He implemented a policy requiring people to use their real names when making financial transactions, as well as ordering high-level public officials to reveal their assets.
Without the real name financial transaction system, we cannot root out corruption in this country.
However, Kim's term in office wasn't free from criticism. Public sentiment dipped after he accepted a $58 billion bailout from the IMF in the aftermath of the 1997-98 Asian financial crisis. And in his last year in office, one of his sons was arrested on charges of bribery and tax evasion. Kim apologized for the scandal and later banished his son from public life. The former president is survived by his wife, 2 sons, and 3 daughters. Minji, Arirang News.
Now, in the rest of the day's news, President Park Geun-hye is back in Seoul following a 3-nation tour during which she attended a string of multilateral summits. Our Hwang Sang-hee, who was traveling with the president, has a wrap-up of the trip.
President Park is back in Korea after a 10-day tour that took her to Turkey, the Philippines, and Malaysia. First on her agenda was the annual summit of the Group of 20 Advanced and Emerging Economies in Antalya, Turkey, which was largely overshadowed by the terror attacks in Paris that left 129 people dead. In a rare departure from their usual focus on the global economy, the G20 leaders agreed to streamline the process of intelligence sharing, strengthen border controls, and crack down on terrorist financing. In Manila, Philippines, President Park attended the APEC summit, where 21 world leaders focused on ways to achieve inclusive growth. The South Korean president laid out policy prescriptions based on Korea's development experience, including human resources development and bolstering rural communities. At the ASEAN Plus 3 summit in the Malaysian capital of Kuala Lumpur, President Park pledged greater cooperation with Southeast Asian nations, noting the launch of the ASEAN community at the end of the year. She also sought the support of the international community in dealing with North Korea's nuclear ambitions at the East Asia Summit. Back in Seoul, President Park is preparing to pay her respects to former President Kim Youngsam, who passed away over the weekend. While she was overseas, President Park expressed her deep condolences to Kim's family, saying that her heart goes out to them. Hwang Sang-hee, Arirang News.
Now, South Korea is marking a solemn anniversary on this Monday. 5 years ago to this day, North Korea unleashed an artillery attack on the south border island of Yeonpyeong-do, killing 4 South Koreans. To mark the day, a ceremony took place this morning at the War Memorial of Korea in Seoul. Over 3,000 guests, including the relatives of the victims and Defense Minister Han Min-gu, took part in a tribute to the fallen. In a pre-recorded commemorative speech, President Park Geun-hye paid tribute to the fallen soldiers and reiterated the importance of bringing peace to the Korean peninsula. And soon after the devastating events of that day, the South Korean military announced that North Korea fired a total of 170 rounds at Yeonpyeong-do Island and its surrounding areas. But now local media is suggesting that 400 shells were actually fired. Lee Soo-eun has this report.
November 23, 2010 is a day many South Koreans will not forget.
Around 2 in the afternoon, North Korea launched an attack on South Korean soil, the first since the 1953 armistice agreement. The North's shelling of Yeonpyeong Island, just below the northern limit line, the NLL, off the west coast, killed 4 South Koreans, including 2 soldiers, and injured 19. At the time, South Korean military announced that the North fired a total of 170 rounds of artillery, with 80 hitting the border island.
We judged that North Korea fired around 170 rounds. Around 90 fell into the sea and 80 landed on South Korean territory.
However, Seoul-based YTN TV reported this Sunday that the announcement could be wrong. It says that according to South Korea U.S. intelligence, the North actually fired 400 rounds. The network detailed that the North first fired 40 artillery rounds, then 40 minutes later fired an additional 360, 400 in total. But due to the North's poor artillery maintenance, only 170 of them are known to have made it across the NLL, 80 of them hitting the targeted area. 230 rounds out of the 400 either misfired or did not cross the NLL. 이수은, Arirang News.
16 people have been arrested in Brussels as part of ongoing anti-terror raids in the Belgian capital, a city that continues to be on lockdown. The federal prosecutor says police raided 19 houses across Brussels and its surrounding areas. The fugitive Paris attacker Saleh Abdeslam was not among those arrested. He's feared to still be at large in the city. Brussels will stay on maximum terror alert as the country still fears an attack like what happened in Paris. Prime Minister Charles Michel named the targets as commercial centres, shops and public transport. The authorities believe at least 2 people are ready to attack Brussels imminently. Universities, schools and the city's subway system will remain closed all day on Monday. European Union institutions will remain open though, but security checks will be stepped up as heavily armed police and soldiers continue to patrol the city's main areas. Japanese authorities are investigating 10 bodies found inside some boats discovered in waters near the coastal city of Wajima last week. According to sources in Tokyo, the Japan Coast Guard recovered 2 wooden boats last Friday. Both are capsized and one was found to contain the bodies of 4 men. A third boat was found in the same area the following day and it had 6 bodies in it. The authorities suspect the boats are from North Korea as North Korean Army is written in Korean on the side of one of the hulls. Investigations are underway to find out what they were doing so close to Japan and why the boats sank. Now, Korea Aerospace Industries has signed a provisional contract with Indonesia, giving Korea's only aircraft maker 20% of the costs for its fighter experiment project, also known as KFX. Now, Indonesian defense officials agreed to invest $1.47 billion of the estimated $7.5 billion of the project cost. The Southeast Asian nation will take part in the jet's design and production. Helping them acquire the aviation technology, Indonesia will also take home one of 6 prototypes to be made in 2021. The KFX project, aimed at developing homegrown fighter jets by the year 2025, almost came to a shuddering halt after the US recently rejected Lockheed Martin's transferring of 4 required technologies. A couple of Korean golfers had a weekend to remember. Park In-bi has earned a ticket to the LPGA Hall of Fame after winning the scoring title at this year's season finale in Florida. The wild number 2 hit a final round 3 under 69 at the CME Group Tour Championship on Sunday to win the Vare Trophy, which is awarded to the player with the lowest scoring average of the year. Winning that trophy earned her the 27th and final point needed to qualify for the Hall of Fame. She'll just have to complete her 10th year on the tour next year to become only the 2nd South Korean ever to receive the honour after Park Se-ri in 2007. Now, another winner at the tournament was Korean-born New Zealander Lydia Ko, who won the LPGA's Player of the Year award to become the fourth player to ever earn the title, only a year after achieving Rookie of the Year. She also pocketed $1 million in bonus for winning the race to the CME Globe. Korean exports, the main driver of the economy, have been dropping every month this year as demand slows in global economies, especially in China. But some consumer goods have managed to buck the trend, signaling that there may be some light at the end of the tunnel. Our Hwang Jie has this report.
This cosmetics section at a duty-free shop located in the heart of Seoul is bustling with foreigners trying to get their hands on stacks of products. Tracy Wang is one of them.
Because the K-pop culture is popular in Taiwan, so I love to girl generation, and makeup is very beautiful.
And such high demand for Korean cosmetic goods is proving to be a breakthrough for sluggish Korean exports. Outbound shipments of local beauty products rose over 50% on average in the first 9 months of this year, while overall exports dropped more than 6%. Data from the Korea Chamber of Commerce and Industry shows that some electronics goods and food products are also riding on this trend, overcoming otherwise slowing global demand. Exports of products like milk, beer, and rice cookers went up almost 25% on average during the period.
Beauty and food products build a reputation thanks to Korean pop culture in the beginning. But it's the industry's continued R&D efforts and in-depth analysis of foreign markets that actually leads the growth.
But as Korea's main export items are mostly intermediary goods like steel and petroleum products, some question whether the surprising growth in the consumer goods sector will be able to lead the country's overall exports. Still, experts say there's great potential because demand for consumer goods will continue to expand. In Southeast Asia and China, markets still considered small in comparison to their huge populations. Hwang Jie, Arirang News.
Well, that's pretty much all we have for now. Thank you as always for tuning in. Goodbye.